Joining us right now is former Illinois Congressman Joe Walsh. Congressman, good to see you. Good morning to you.
Great to be with you, Maria.
So what do you think? Should the courts be ruling on this executive order?
Not at all. And this is all a bunch of noise, Maria, about nothing. Look, Trump's going to get his way, and he should get his way. He's got history on his side, and as Vice President Pence said, he's got the law on his side. Donald Trump is doing nothing differently than other Republican and Democrat presidents have done before him. Restrict or delay immigration. He has the authority to do it whenever the interests of the United States are at hand. That's where we're going to end up within a couple of weeks.
Well, you say it's all noise, but at the same time, refugees and travelers from those 7 countries right now are able to come into the country. So, whoever you are from Syria, Iraq, Iran, Yemen, Somalia, Sudan, Libya, you're on your way in right now. And a lot of people right now apparently are racing into the United States. 33 people from Yemen, Syria, and Iraq reportedly boarded flights yesterday to the U.S., according to the Associated Press. So you could call it noise, but the critics of the ban say that the order is encouraging terrorist activity, and right now that order is suspended.
Well, and that's why, Maria, this has got to be expedited like in a nanosecond. Again, and that's where we're going to be. This will be approved. Trump is doing nothing differently than presidents before him have done. This is why he got elected. And I know everybody is like pulling their hair out about this. This is a course correction. This is why he got elected. We're finally getting serious about the threat of terror. And I wish I know they don't like to call it a Muslim ban, Maria, but that's what it is, and they shouldn't be afraid to say that.
But it's not. There are 40 countries that are not on the list that are Muslim. I know, Maria, but it is. We're not concerned with Christian terrorists, and we're not concerned with Jewish terrorists. I see what you're saying.
Look, we know where the threat is. I know they've got to be careful what they're saying, but the problem here is we're talking about Muslim terrorists, period.
Congressman, the president took some heat this weekend for going after the judge who ruled on this stay. Do you think that's the right thing for the president to be doing through Twitter, to be attacking not only the courts but individual justices in the courts to disagree with him?
You know, presidents have done it before, from Obama to FDR. Look, this is Trump. Our judiciary is no longer independent. I don't think it's been independent for a while. They've gotten political. Our judiciary's gotten political. This seemed to be a pretty political ruling. I don't know how in God's name this judge out in Washington thought they had standing to bring this case. We don't like Trump's language, but I understand what he's saying. He's upset with the ruling.
Yeah.
Presidents have voiced their displeasure before.
Congressman, how much of this do you think is really just a function of the press saying things about this ban that really weren't true in the early days? It seems like, given the differences in the judgments that we've already seen from some of the courts, that there's not even clarity on what exactly people are trying to oppose here. And I think that also comes from the way it was described. It was a Muslim ban. People have said that it's religiously discriminatory, even though it just says religious minorities should be protected. It feels like a lot of this is just still in the getting the facts straight sphere of things when you look at the way that it's been described by much of the media.
Yeah, the problem here is twofold. The media still opposes Trump, and they clearly oppose this policy. So they've been complicit in adding to the confusion. But then the other problem is on Team Trump. Look, you and I know why they're doing this. They're afraid to say why they're doing it. And Maria and I just tussled. Is it a Muslim ban? No. But in fact, that's what we're going after. And we want to protect religious minorities who are persecuted. So in a way, the Trump team can't really say what it is, and the media is misrepresenting what it is. So there's a hell of a lot of confusion out there.
But with President Trump, though, going after this judge on Twitter, that is just chum for the liberal media to get him in a stir. He's just throwing stuff into the water. But I wanted it potentially, and the Wall Street Journal hits on this in its editorial page today, and he said he's Trump's right on the law, but his rants against a judge are offensive. And they do make the point that this is checks and balances. This is the judiciary. When the Republicans have filed suits trying to stop Obama's laws, we cheered that. This is just part of the system and part of the checks and balances. But beyond that, he's giving fuel to the liberal judges in the Ninth Circuit Court to rally around what the Journal calls a bad, flimsy decision. So you're giving them ammunition by going after this judge on Twitter.
I mean, what if a judge came out, Dagan, and said, so-called president?
Well, we've seen some pretty close stuff from some of the Democrats with Trump not actually being president, but of course calling him so-called president or so-called judge.
That's why we were all outraged by
I don't think it helps his case.
I agree with you. I'm agreeing with you.
It might not help his case, but I think all this focus on immigration helps his base. He is keeping attention on an issue that matters very much to his constituency. So politically, I think this is in his interest.
It's an opportunity also to show that he puts security above these politically correct concerns, and I think that's why this does appeal to the base so much. There's a lot of talk about how, well, there hasn't been a successful attack in the U.S. by a refugee, but there have been numerous disrupted would-be terrorist attacks that involve people who came in either through the refugee or asylum program, and it just shows the way that this is judged by a lot of different people depends on that political proclivity. Are you trying to stop the next attack, or are you trying to focus on what the statistics say about the previous attacks? And I think that's why it plays well with the base.
The statistics show that there haven't been a lot none, in fact, from Iran or Syria. The vast majority of terror attacks in the United States have been homegrown Americans.
Yes, but there have been instances of refugees who were plotting Bowling Green, and there was another one, I believe, in Kentucky as well. And they're not trying to focus on what's happened in the past. They're trying to focus on what the possibilities are now, given the squirt from Mosul, from Raqqa, from other areas that are under a lot of pressure right now that could have terrorist plotting that is is in a follow-on to U.S. operations abroad. So they're trying to get ahead of it.
Said that they want to infiltrate the refugee
program. And they've done it in Europe, so that sets a precedent.
We've pointed this out. There are passport-making machines that the Islamic State has in terms of being able to get into this country. And we just started talking about last year vetting these refugees' social media accounts. That just became part of the conversation last year. But what I was trying to say earlier is, on the merits, the president has the power to do this, but fighting it in the courts is just the natural progression of how our system works and how the checks and balances are in place. And he needs to do what's in the best interest of making sure that this executive order stands.
The interesting twist here is this might not get to the Supreme Court because there's this 4-4 split.
They can choose not to, because if they split on it, it would go back to the lower court. They could choose not to rule on it until the next justice is seated.
And who knows when
Meanwhile, you've got 100 technology companies, including the biggest of the big, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, Twitter, filing an amicus brief voicing opposition to Trump's immigration order. These companies, Congressman, say that it is discriminatory and has a negative impact on their business. Now, some employees of these technology companies are not U.S. citizens. Is this a legitimate concern?
Well, it's a concern of theirs, but again, Maria, politically, they're not where Trump is. This is an issue. We talk about the fact that this is a good issue for his base. I think this is one of those politically correct issues where most Americans in the middle, even though they're afraid to say they support Trump's ban, they do. I don't think this is just an issue that appeals to his base. And I think Silicon Valley and Hollywood and all where a lot of the left is, they hate this issue. But this is an issue that's not just his base. This is middle America. I think they're with him, too.
Well, you're right about that. It's true. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Maria.
Appreciate it very much, Congressman Joe Walsh. And you can